I sat down to talk with Donald Trump this afternoon. We took up a number of issues ranging from radical Islamist terrorism and national security to our middle class, a return to prosperity, and just who will be the best candidate to create jobs as president. Here's that interview. 1 year ago, you had just set upon what some called a quixotic adventure, one that even unserious. You're now the nominee, and you are besieged from every direction. You're in a fight with the Republican, part of the Republican establishment, the Democratic establishment, the party, and the national liberal media. I've never seen the like of it, and I've been covering presidential politics one way or the other for 40 years.
Well, you're right. I mean, as we were just saying, Ronald Reagan went through a lot, but people say it wasn't as bad as this. And other than that, I've heard of no other analogy. I'll have something where I think it's a big victory day, and I'll read about it the next day in the newspapers, and it's like terrible news. The dishonesty of the media, much of it, not all of it, but the dishonesty of the media is beyond belief. It's beyond belief. And I think the amazing thing is you see all the polls coming out today, and one of the anchors from one of the networks said, whoa, they couldn't believe that I'm right there.
Right.
And I guess we're tied in Ohio and essentially tied in Pennsylvania and very close nationwide on the CNN poll as an example.
6 to 7 points.
Yeah,
and
5 points actually.
At this point, that, frankly, it's so early.
It's very early.
So many people are writing as if this thing's over because we're almost a month from the convention.
Yeah.
This is just beginning.
Well, for me, it's just beginning. You know, when I first started with the 17 total people that we had, I started at nothing and rapidly went up. And, you know, that was not very much different other than we had a lot of people. We had a total of 17, so 16. I had 16 opponents. But I will tell you, I've never seen more unfair press coverage. Even the New York Times, when they did the story on the women, and the women came out and they said, Donald Trump's a great guy. That wasn't what we were saying, and it wasn't our thoughts, and they were totally discredited.
And they immediately retracted and corrected everything they
don't want to do it. But, I mean, they saw us, and they sort of, in their own way, apologized as much as they can. But it's ridiculous. And it was a front-page story, and it was ridiculous. And how nice were those women to come forward and to say, that's not what we said.
Yeah, remarkable.
And I haven't seen them for many years. They were remarkable people. So, you know, I have great respect. I have great respect for what happened, but it's very unfair from the media standpoint.
You've restructured your campaign, a shakeup at the top. Is this the reset that you have allowed people to speculate about? Is there going to be one, and if so, what direction?
Well, Corey did a very good job, and he's a great guy, and you know, I'm very proud of him. And I watched him, the way he handled it, because it's a hard thing for somebody, and he handled it so beautifully. We got the largest vote in the history of Republican politics in the primaries by a lot, almost 14 million votes, and 37 states. We had big victories. This is different. This is much nastier. I cannot believe it, because I thought it would be, you know, actually you would think it would be easier, because instead of going against...
Did you think it would be easier?
I thought it would be perhaps easier, although everyone that knew said, no, it's going to be more vicious because the press is so dishonest. The amazing thing, the public understands the press is dishonest, or I wouldn't be doing the kind of numbers that I'm doing in the polls.
Is the Republican establishment dishonest, or substantial numbers of it?
Well, I'll let you know in a couple of weeks. I will say I'm disappointed in some. Now, they don't write about, I mean, I've had so many great calls. Darrell Issa called, and so many that are so with me. Nobody writes about all of the people that are really, really with me. Senator Jeff Sessions, I mean, you take a look at him, he is like a rock. He's so solid and highly respected. I mean, Ted Cruz,
Absolutely.
as an example, I think respects him just about more than any other senator. So many people do, and he is a solid rock. And there are others. But if there's one that's a little bit out, or, you know, in some cases, like Lindsey Graham, I competed against him, and obviously I did very well against him, to put it mildly, and boy, he's nasty. You know, he just goes on television, and nobody ever says that he lost. You know, people forget. There's like a 2-week span. So people forget that I was competing against Lindsey Graham, but he is nasty, and he's nasty.
Well, you've reached out to him, though, have you not?
No, he called me.
Okay.
He actually called me. I respected the call. I thought it was good. We had a nice call, and he was nice for about a week, and then he went nasty again. So, you know, it's sort of a strange thing going on.
Nature is a funny thing.
Well, well, look, losing is not easy.
Right.
But a lot of people don't know that he lost. You know, now he just sits there as a senator from South Carolina, and
Well, there's 16
he had a hard
people
time.
out there you beat. There's one more for you to beat.
Right.
And when you talk about nasty, she has a machine that is nasty, effective, tough and tried and tested. She was beaten by Barack Obama, obviously. How are you going to beat her?
I think I'm going to do well. I think you see that. I have been brutalized by the press for 3 weeks, and she has had the best week she's ever had. And there's very little difference in the polls. I mean, you're seeing that. That's what the shock was today. They said, whoa, what's going on here? That, you know, they thought the number would be a lot different than it is. And we have a group of people that, by millions and millions of people, you saw what happened in the primaries, how so many people more voted than they did, as you know, 4 years ago.
Right.
And I think we're going to do very well. I think it's going to be a big, beautiful surprise. And that probably started today, because really people thought that she would have had a much bigger margin. The margin's very tight, and in Ohio it's even, and in Pennsylvania it's even, and I think we're doing great in Florida, but nationwide we're doing very well against her. So I think we're going to do very well.
Some reporters in Washington covering the campaign took note that this was the first day of Paul Manafort being in charge. He said there are actually very, very distinct differences, and amongst those differences are the amount of PR releases and statements coming out of your campaign. Is that what you expected?
Well, first of all, I have to tell you, Paul and Corey actually got along very well, and they're very different people, and they handle different parts. So in that sense, there was not a problem at all. I think I was very responsible for a lot of what took place today, because the last time I heard her speak, I thought it was an average speech at best. And then the press says, oh, it was wonderful, wonderful. You know, she's reading off a teleprompter, and they build it up like great. I said, you have to do something, because now she's doing another speech, and she just did it. And I said, now when she lies, we have to counteract the lie, because the last time she kept lying and telling untruths. She talked about Japan and the military and all of the things, and she didn't say it the way I said it. It was total untruth. And I said, this time, as she lies, we're going to counteract it. And we did. I hope you think it was effective, but I noticed they did break into her speech a lot.
It's also interesting that you're going to be following by one day her speech, and your subject tomorrow will be Hillary Clinton. We're going to come back and get a preview, if we may, of what you're going to focus on as you address the former secretary. We'll be right back after these messages with Donald Trump. We're back with Donald Trump, and you'll be addressing tomorrow Hillary Clinton in a speech. It turns out to be a rebuttal because she went today. What do you plan to focus on?
Well, look, she has had a very bad time of it if you really look at her record. Her record is a disaster. In addition to taking in tens and tens of millions of dollars from people for lots of different things and lots of different ways, and countries that should not be giving her money or her husband money. And we talk about that, and we talk about her record, and her record is terrible. And she's crooked Hillary, let's face it. She's crooked Hillary. She always has been, and nothing's going to change. And the last time she spoke, I let her speak, and I noticed everything. I mean, so many of the things she was saying were outright lies, fabrications. And I said, this time we're going to cover it point by point, and we're also going to cover it. I'm going to do a speech after she speaks. So we're going to do the speech, and then sometime later in the week, I head out to Europe, to Scotland, where I'm opening up the Great Turnberry Resort, which is one of my international deals, one of my many. And then I come back, and I just love this. I'm having a great time campaigning. But we want to keep her as honest as possible, which is not easy to do.
Your focus on Hillary Clinton. You're the first Republican presidential presumptive nominee to focus on the middle class, working men and women and their families.
That's why I'm doing this.
And international trade, the first.
Right.
And you have a unique appeal to independents as well as to the Republicans that you've brought into the primary process. Where do you take that message on illegal immigration, working men and women, job creation and restoring prosperity?
Wages, just wages. You look, Lou, I mean, you know, one of the most incredible statistics is for 18 years, middle-class people haven't had a real wage increase. And in some cases now they're working 2 jobs and they're making less money than they used to make.
Right.
A lot of part-timers because of Obamacare, which is a disaster, which we're going to repeal and replace with something much better and much less money. But I have hit a chord. I mean, I make speeches. I have 35,000 people coming, 25,000 people. The other day we had a speech in Houston, Texas. They had a line. I don't know if you got to see it.
Sure.
The longest line anyone's ever seen going into an arena or a convention center. And I mean, I have never even seen anything like that. Now, we had 5,000 seats and we had tens of thousands of people not able to get in, but it was covered very strongly in Houston with the helicopters. Look, there's something that we've hit. We've hit a chord, and people are tired of incompetence. They're tired of being ripped off. They're tired of, some cases, it's not incompetence, it's the politicians wanting to take care of their friends who own corporations or run corporations, because nobody can be that stupid to do what they're doing, to make the deals. We have the worst trade deals ever made by any country ever. And we're losing our jobs, we're losing our money, we're losing everything. And our country is not going to be able to continue to do this. We have trade imbalances, we have deficits that are you know, I mean, you look at China, hundreds of billions of dollars a year. So we're going to change that quickly.
And in supporting the middle class, working men and women, their families, jobs and wages, you're taking on the business establishment, you're taking on corporate America, you're taking on 2 business practices in particular, the offshoring of production to other cheap labor markets and economies, the exporting of jobs, the outsourcing of U.S. middle-class jobs. How long do you think it will take you, as president, to end those 2 practices?
Well, first of all, when you talk about taking on business, I'm really here to help business. Right. I'm going to help the middle class. We've given the largest tax reduction of anybody by far that ran for president. That means all, you know, 18 or 17 plus the Democrats, by far. Hillary has to raise taxes to 55 or 60%. There's no way she can do anything less than that. So we're going to give a massive tax decrease for people and for business. So I'm actually being good to business, but in terms of trade, we're not going to have it where Carrier Air Conditioning can close down in Indiana and just move all of their people to Mexico and sell back to our country. And, you know, I mean, it's just not going to happen. And it's so easy to stop. Because when they sell an air conditioning unit into our country, we're going to charge them a tax. And the tax is going to be enough that we're going to make up the difference and maybe more than that. So there's going to be a price to pay for companies. There's going to be consequences for companies that close down, fire their workers, go to Mexico or other places and think they're going to just sell here because of free trade. Because, you know, Lou, it's not free trade. I'm a free trader. But for free trade, you need smart people. We don't have smart people doing our deals for us. So for free trade, you need smart. We're going to do, one of the anchors, a good guy, good person, asked me the other day, what do you think? I said, no, I just want good deals, my trade deal. I want good deals for the people of the United States, that's all. Actually, great deals. But what we're going to do is we're going to make great deals, good deals, great deals. We're going to make them for this country. That's my trade, very simple. Whether you call it free trade, fair trade, you can call it 100 different things. We're going to start making great trade deals where our businesses don't leave and we benefit and make money.
In terms of public policy, talking about improving, making terrific, great trade deals as part of the public policy choice and direction that has to be taken. The second is, it seems to me, to recognize for this entire country all of the money that's sopped up in lobbying from K Street goes in behalf of big business, big banks. And when the small business...
Hillary takes care of it.
And small business creates the preponderance of jobs, the vast majority of jobs.
And they're forgotten.
And how are you going to stimulate their business environment and assure that they prosper and jobs are created?
Well, for one thing, the lobbyists don't control me at all. Because if they did, I wouldn't be talking this way about China and Japan and Mexico and all these countries that are just ripping us. Mexico, I have great relationships with the Mexican people. I have thousands of Hispanics working for me, but I will tell you, Mexico is killing us at the border, and they're killing us on trade. You see, so many companies are moving to Mexico, and there's absolutely no consequence. So what we're going to do is, number one, the lobbyists don't control me. Okay, I know many of the lobbyists. I've hired many of the lobbyists. They're very good. You know, I know lobbyists that can almost guaranteed take care of this one, this one. They have like the name of the senator or whoever it may be stamped on their forehead. Boom. And they totally control these politicians. And what happens is it's good for the people of the company or that own the company, and it's good for certain others, but it's not good for the people of the country. And I understand the system, I think, probably better than anybody. You know, while I've always been on the other side, I understand the system. We're going to make it so our country finally benefits, because we are getting ripped off by everybody. Honestly, I said at the beginning, we have made the worst trade deals ever made by any country ever in the history of the world. We lose on everything.
Free trade, nothing free about it. A lot more of my interview with Donald Trump coming up. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Much more still ahead with Donald Trump, including how he plans to take on the Islamic State and defeat radical Islamist terrorism.
We've got these absolute animals that are cutting off heads. This is an unbelievable situation. We're going to have to do something.
And what kind of president will Donald Trump be? His answer coming up next. And the Five's Kimberly Guilfoyle, Ed Rollins, and Michael Goodwin among our guests. They'll be here for reaction and analysis of my interview with Donald Trump. Trump and I also talked about the threat of radical Islamist terrorism in the wake of the Orlando shootings. And Trump laid out exactly how his approach would differ from the Obama administration. Here we are. Two issues. One, terrorism, radical Islamist terrorism, a president who refuses to use the words. Hillary Clinton, it appears, at least to me, that you shamed her into using radicalism.
Absolutely. She was shamed into it.
And yet...
She still hasn't used it. She said she's going to, but she still hasn't.
She at least said she had no problem using it.
Yeah,
she put it in quotes.
That's what she said.
But the reality is we still have not, as the president promised he would, degraded or destroyed the Islamic State. We have a country that's been at war for 15 years. We've spent $2 trillion, as you've pointed out, time and time again. We're a nation that has to take a new direction. Give us a sense of where we will be headed under a President Trump.
So I was against the war in Iraq from the beginning. And now they say, oh, he made a statement, he might have been. I was against the war in Iraq. And from the beginning, because it was going to destabilize the Middle East and all of that. Okay, so we had the war in Iraq. It was a disaster. One of the worst decisions ever made by a country, because you look at what's happening throughout the world now. It all started with that really dumb decision to go in. And Obama made a horrible decision the way he got out, by not leaving some troops there, etc. It's a total, and then ISIS formed. Many bad things happened. Iran is now taking over Iraq, because that's what's going to happen. Iran is taking over Iraq, with, by the way, among the largest oil reserves in the world. This is even better than their Iran deal. But we have a problem. We've got these absolute animals that are cutting off heads and chopping off heads and doing all sorts of things with the steel cages going into the water and drowning people. And, you know, this is an unbelievable situation. All right. We have to knock the hell out of them. We have no choice. Again, I didn't want to go in, but we're going to have to do something now. Now, ideally, our so-called allies, who aren't much of allies if you look, because every time a bullet's fired, they run. We are the fighters. But we have to ideally use them. But we have to get rid of ISIS. We have no choice. And the reason is because of the power of weaponry and other things that they can do. And we might as well beat them over there before they come over here. And they're already coming over here, because Hillary wants more than 500% more to come in than Obama. And we have no idea who these people are. It's the ultimate Trojan horse, maybe. But Hillary Clinton wants these people to come in from the migration. They say Syria, who knows where they're from, and they're coming in, and we have no idea who they are. So we better be careful.
Final question. What kind of president, in terms of, will you be an aspirational president? A president that young Americans can look up to for inspiration, that citizens of all ages can look to for a sense of our future as a nation?
And security. I would certainly want to be. That would be one of my aspirations, is to be an aspirational president. And I think I will be. And I thought, frankly, that President Obama, I didn't know whether or not he'd be a good president. I sort of doubted it. but I always thought he'd be a great cheerleader for the for the country, and he's just not. He's just not. You look at what's happening, he's just not. So we want to, our theme is Make America Great Again, greater than ever before, and all sorts of things, America first. But that's what we want to do. We want to make America great again, and I want to make it great for everyone, not just for a certain group of people, for everyone. And it seems to be going very well, and I'll be out there working and watching you.
Appreciate it, Donald.
Thank you.
Donald Trump.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Donald Trump. Well, we'd like to hear from you on the issue of Trump's leadership. That's tonight's poll question. Do you believe Donald Trump will be an inspiring and aspirational president for all Americans? We'd like to hear from you on this. Cast your vote at LouDobbs.com. And follow me on Twitter at Lou Dobbs. Like me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram at Lou Dobbs Tonight. Links to everything, LouDobbs.com.